Well, hello everyone, how are you doing this fine day? Hope you're enjoying your week. Welcome to another survival challenge. But not just any survival challenge, a Helldivers survival challenge. And I know what you're thinking, Rouga, don't you think this is a bit much? Aren't you kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel? Haven't you run out of ideas to do with the Helldivers universe? And my reply to that would be, I'll scrape the bottom of this goddamn barrel till there's a fucking hole in the ground. So yeah, Borderlands. People love Borderlands 2. This will be great. This is gonna go great. But I've wasted enough of your time. Let's get started. So on to the setup. As usual in these Helldivers videos, the Helldivers are gonna be in their little Super Earth universe, fucking around with some Illuminate technology they're not supposed to be fucking around with until all of a sudden, out of nowhere, boom, they make a big ass hole in space-time, and then they take a little peek in there, they walk through, and they see, oh shit, where are we? It's the Borderlands universe. And as they look around in this universe, they see a very, very sad sight. There is a serious lack of democracy around here, and we need to deliver these poor people the greatness that is managed democracy through the use of extreme force, ultra-violence, and mass genocide. And that is exactly what they're going to do. So what can Super Earth expect to find when it arrives in the Borderlands universe? Fucking chaos. Are you kidding me? Borderlands is a universe where nothing fucking makes sense. The universe is in this perpetual war between a bunch of different corporations which basically act as different governments who all specialize in gun manufacturing because the entire economic structure of the universe is built on firearm purchases. Which I always found a little odd because I feel like the people that would have to exist in a universe like this to where the economic structure would be based on gun manufacturing would not be the people found in this story. You know, like, the characters in this story seem more like they would take their toddlers to drag shows as opposed to, I don't know, like questioning a black kid walking through the neighborhood if he really belongs here. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean. All I'm saying is that the characters in Borderlands for sure voted for Kamala, not Trump. So all these different corporations are constantly taking over planets and stripping them of all of their resources so they can then add more power and influence to themselves so they can hopefully get powerful enough to overtake the other corporations and take over the entire planet. So it's basically like a war raging between several different corporate colonizers. Now the majority of this series takes place on a planet known as Pandora, which is basically like, I guess, the Mad Max universe, sort of, in a way. It is completely covered with a bunch of psychos. Like, the entire population of the planet is just psychopaths that like to murder and maim and raid and do all kinds of crazy stuff, and they're all insane and they don't think right and they got all kind of problems. And some of this is because of human experimentation, but some of this is just because they're just fucking crazy because Pandora's a shitty place to live. And this was considered a very serious problem on Pandora to the point that even Hyperion, who is one of those powerful corporations, just could not deal with the insane level of fucking psychopathic threat shit that's happening on the planet. But for the longest time, it was just on that planet until Borderlands 3 came, and then this bitch known as Tyreen showed up, who's super fucking annoying, and somehow, without any real leadership abilities or intelligence whatsoever, was able to have all of the different crazy psychopaths that have been warring each other forever to just all join up into one massive army without any of the heroes of the story who live on the same planet realizing it's happening for some reason, and then spreading across the entire galaxy, so now you have psychos fucking everywhere. Look guys, I like Borderlands. I do. I like Borderlands 1, and I really like Borderlands 2, but you're gonna hear me roast this series a lot because I fucking hate Borderlands 3. Borderlands 3 kind of killed the whole series for me, to be honest with you. I don't think I'm getting Borderlands 4 because of how bad the story of Borderlands 3 was. If I can give you a good comparison, imagine the original ending of Mass Effect 3, but just if the whole game was like that. And that's Borderlands 3. Is terrible. It's terrible. And then you have Sirens, who are a bunch of superpowered beings who are in some way connected to this ancient race of aliens known as the Iridians that we don't really know much about. Like, they're really, really important to the story of the game, but the game doesn't actually go into them, really. Like, at the end of Borderlands 2, there was a being that showed up that's implied very strongly to be an Iridian, and that Borderlands 3 was supposed to lead into that, but then Borderlands 3 didn't come out for like 10 years, and then it finally came out, and they don't even touch on the fact that a possible Iridian showed up, so it just didn't matter. There wasn't any point in it. And we don't know if they created the Sirens or if they, I don't know, they have something, the Sirens have some connection to the Iridians somewhere. It's a pretty safe assumption that they created them. And the Sirens are always women, unless the writer doesn't want them to be. And there are always 6, unless the writer doesn't want there to be. God, Borderlands 3 sucks. And some of them have massive fucking power. Some of them do shit like moving moons. At one point in one of the games, a character named Lilith launches herself at a planet, and when she hits it, she fucking scars the side of the planet with this giant like bird symbol. Like it's easily the size of a fucking continent. They're extremely powerful, and they're going to be a massive threat to pretty much any universe that they come across. The problem is that there's only 6, unless the writer doesn't want there to be. So they're only really going to be useful to a point. On top of all that, Borderlands has a lot of really advanced technology, like having the ability to digitize matter into reality, which I feel like not enough people talk about how crazy that is, but yeah, they could just digitize and create matter out of nothing. This means that them building weapons and building like robots to fight their wars and shit basically has no limit, and they can do it very, very quickly and constantly. So they can build massive, massive, massive armies in virtually no time at all. On top of that, they have giant warships that are armed with all sorts of crazy weapons, and all the different crazy guns they have that basically breaks the laws of physics sometimes and just does a bunch of weird shit. Like they have guns that you fire and then you throw the gun on the ground, it grows legs and then it crawls around and shoots people, and you can just keep doing it, and no matter how many times you do it, another gun will keep digitizing in your hand. So you can just make an army of little legged guns and always just have new guns appear. That's like the least weird one in these games. And the last thing we have to talk about are the vaults, which is basically a long time ago, the Iridians had all this treasure and they decided to hide this treasure in these vaults. And in these vaults have these giant like vault monsters that are basically kaiju that are put there for the sole purpose of protecting their secrets and their treasures and all this kind of stuff. And there's a group of people who call themselves vault hunters whose whole purpose is to hunt down all of these vaults, break inside them, kill whatever monsters in there, and take whatever the thing they need to. It's like an entire job description, kind of like a bounty hunter or something. It's an extremely dangerous job, and you as the protagonist of the game always play as vault hunter. It's like the whole purpose of the games is to vault hunt. Now, while many of these monsters are nothing to write home about, some of them are like planet destroying beings, and one of them, I think it's called the Destroyer, is just straight up stated to be a galaxy eater. It can just destroy the whole galaxy. And if that thing gets out, there's really nothing anybody can do. Neither Super Earth nor anyone else in Borderlands is capable of that amount of power. If that thing gets out, it's killing everybody, and that's going to be the fucking end of the story. But yeah, I think that's basically everything we got to go over. So how would Super Earth do if they went into the Borderlands universe against all of this unfathomably fucked up shit? Well, let's find out. Okay, so the first thing we have to talk about is the structure of the world and its military. I feel like there's probably a better way to put that, but I can't think of it right now. Basically, what I'm talking about is the volatile nature of the Borderlands universe and how it's constantly at war with itself and how the military is sort of structured and spread out all over the place. It kind of makes it so that Super Earth is going to have a massive advantage when they initially get there. And what I mean by that is, like, when Super Earth shows up and they start causing all kinds of fucking problems, it's not like the entirety of the Borderlands universe is going to look directly at Super Earth and be like, okay, we gotta stop that, let's go stop that, deal with it. Once it's dealt with, then we'll go back to what we're doing. That's not really the way it's gonna work. The Borderlands universe as a whole is at a constant state of war with dozens upon dozens of different factions all fighting for power. So if Super Earth shows up, it's just gonna be like another fucking Tuesday. Like, nobody's gonna really care to even pay them all that much attention unless they mess with them specifically. If Super Earth shows up and then it starts taking over planets that are owned by Atlas, Hyperion is not gonna come and assist Atlas. They're just gonna let Super Earth take out Atlas because that will be taking out one of their rivals. It's not like you're gonna suddenly see them put all of their differences aside, team up against this one threat. When I made my Helldivers Mass Effect video, I talked about how the world kind of didn't get along and there were all these different races of people, and that it might take a second for them to come together against this threat. Well, you can basically take that argument that I made for that and times it by like 10,000 for Borderlands, because in Mass Effect, all of these different factions aren't at war, they just don't really like each other and are super racist. In Borderlands, they legitimately are trying to fucking kill each other. So I just don't see them coming together as one unit to assist. At least not at first, until they see just how big of a threat Super Earth can become. This is going to give Super Earth way more time than they would normally have in order to start taking over planets basically completely unimpeded until the universe as a whole takes the time to notice how threatening they are. And this is shown pretty clearly in the series when Tyreen takes a bunch of unorganized bandits and basically just rips through the entire fucking universe without anyone being able to stop them, and Super Earth is way more organized, has way better weapons, and is just generally far more powerful than the fucking psychos could ever hope to be. You also have the fact that Super Earth is far more efficient at actually taking over planets than anyone in Borderlands is. On average, Super Earth can take over an entire planet in like 1 or 2 days. It's super quick. They can eradicate literally all life on the planet over the course of a weekend, which is something that we've never really seen anyone in Borderlands do. Like, Hyperion wanted to take over Pandora and put down the psycho threat that was covering the planet, and they were trying to do it for years and years and years and couldn't successfully do it. And this is kind of the case with every single planet they try and take over. Every single attempt at colonization takes a really long time, and they have a massive amount of fight back from the planet that they're actually trying to colonize. And a lot of times these planets they're trying to take over don't even have an organized military. It's just a bunch of random bands of fighters. So I do think the Borderlands universe is going to ignore Super Earth for way longer than they should be. I don't think it's going to be like forever. At some point they're going to see like, Jesus Christ, these dudes are spreading like a fucking cancer. They're going to have to realize that that's something they need to deal with. However, I don't think they're going to do it fast enough to stop Super Earth from basically getting to my second point, adapting all of their technology. A massive fucking weakness that the Borderlands universe has when it comes to coming up against Super Earth is that all of their technology is just like freely spread across the entire universe. It's not hidden or protected in any way by any of the corporations. It's just out there in the ether. Like, when Super Earth invaded Star Wars in that video that I made, a lot of the most advanced technology is only wielded by the Empire. They designed it, it's theirs. And in order for Super Earth to actually acquire it, they actually would have to go to war with the Empire to steal it from them. That's not the case for Borderlands. Like, that technology I talked about digitizing shit and actually bringing matter into existence, that's just freely laying about all over the place. It's super common in the Borderlands universe. It would be like taking a fucking toaster. It's all over the place. Their guns are all over the place. Iridium is, while rare-ish, can still be found strewn about on every planet. When Super Earth starts invading all these planets and taking over little by little, while all of these corporations are kind of ignoring them, they're going to come across technologies that are far more advanced than anything that they have, and they're going to start incorporating that technology into their own technology because that's kind of what Super Earth does. They're really good at taking advanced technologies and incorporating it and improving upon it, making it better than it was when they found it. Even technologies that are far more advanced than anything that they have, they somehow improve it better than the people who had it before them. Can you imagine the shit that Super Earth would do with that fucking Digistruct technology? If they wanted to, they could just copy corporations like Hyperion and just make an army of robots. But I feel like that's kind of thinking about it on a very surface level. Like, there's way more shit that they can do. I mean, imagine literally all of their super destroyers now having basically limitless ammo and weapons without any kind of setup or recharge time. When you play Helldivers and you call down stratagems, there's always a charge time, and some stratagems just have a straight up limit where you can only use it a certain amount of times. And there's a few different reasons for that. Some of it is because you have to like reload the weapons and prepare them, and some of it is because Super Earth actually doesn't let you fire the weapon any more than a certain number of times because of cost reasons. If you have this Digistruct technology on all your ships, that would be a thing of the past. Just imagine a limitless number of orbital barrages constantly without any fear of ever running out of ammunition. Think about an orbital laser that you could just keep firing constantly, that Super Earth doesn't give a shit because it's not costing them anything to use anymore. This doesn't even go into all the new technologies they can make that wasn't even possible for them to make before. I mean, this would completely revolutionize their technology. And it's not the only thing that would revolutionize their technology. They would be able to take the firearms technology of the Borderlands universe, the shielding technology, Iridium. Can you imagine Helldivers having all Iridium powered weapons, or Iridium powered ships, or possibly an orbital laser that's powered by just pure fucking Iridium? Maybe they could take the Iridium and experiment with it and figure out how to make their own siren. Then you have a bunch of fucking Helldiver sirens with a bunch of crazy powers. While Borderlands for sure has way better technology than Helldivers does, that won't really be the case for very long. And once Super Earth gets their hands on all that technology, you will be fighting a far more powerful force than you were ever fighting before. And this is especially devastating considering that the average gun that the Helldivers use really should be more powerful than the average guns that the Borderlands people use. And I know this sounds weird because Borderlands is sort of known for their guns, but the lore of Borderlands never really goes super deep into what caliber these weapons are or just how strong they are. All we can really go by is what they're capable of doing on screen when you fire them. And in that particular regard, they're really not all that impressive. You got your submachine guns, your shotguns, you got your bazookas. You got guns that do really crazy shit, like a gun that fires out another gun that then jumps around and shoots people and explodes. Guns that basically look like it's firing out 1,000 fucking fireworks all over the place. You got all kinds of cool guns, but there's really no evidence that the guns shoot anything that's, say, as powerful as like a 40mm autocannon blast, which should not be fireable by a normal human person. Or like the goddamn quasar cannon, which is literally firing a mini nuclear star at somebody. Which, in case you didn't know, that's what a quasar is. It's condensed nuclear energy to such a point that it creates a star. So when you fire that fucking thing, that thing that can blow up 4-story fucking striders and blow up factories in one shot and shit, you're actually firing a little star at somebody. There just really isn't a whole lot of evidence that specifically the handheld guns that Borderlands characters have are that powerful. Now, there are things they do that are that powerful, for sure. There's things that they fire from their ships. Sirens have some stuff that's really impressive, but specifically their guns, there's really no way to get them up to that level of power. So when it comes to technology here, what you're gonna end up having is the Helldivers having way better guns, the Borderlands universe having way better literally everything else, but then with them kind of ignoring the Helldivers for longer than they should, the Helldivers are eventually gonna upgrade their shit to match. And now all of a sudden, the Helldivers really technologically wise should be just as good, if not better, than the Borderlands universe. But this is all depending on just how long the Borderlands universe ignores Super Earth. You could probably go a couple ways with this. I think worst case scenario, they actually wait until Super Earth just straight up takes over several corporations. But I think it's probably more likely that once the corporations see that these motherfuckers took over like 12 planets in a week, they'll see that, okay, this is not something we can just let go, and we have to kind of start dealing with it. So I think after they take over like a handful of planets, it's going to be an issue that the rest of the corporations just can't ignore anymore. Now, how does the overall power of each side's military actually compare to one another? Because technology and all that's cool, but it doesn't really matter how much technology the Helldivers have if the other side is just like vastly more powerful. I mean, you can give them as much tech as you want. If you introduce Superman into the planet, they're not fucking beating Superman. Like, it just is what it is. And I think when it comes to Super Earth versus the Borderlands universe, it's one of those situations where you take the low tier people and it's gonna go one way, but then if you look at the highest tier people, it's gonna go a totally different way. And what I mean by that is, on the low tiers for Super Earth, you have the SCAF, which is basically the main military force that they use. They're not elites, they're normal soldiers. If you put them up against, say, the normal soldiers, your average asshole in Borderlands, like your average psycho or your average grunt that works for Hyperion or some shit, I think there's really no question that the SCAF are gonna win that. I mean, most of the psychos are running around shirtless with sticks, and many of them don't even have shields. So anybody in the SCAF is going to be able to just one-shot and kill them immediately. And you can't argue that their weapons won't work, because the weapons of the Helldivers are fucking insane. Even though the SCAF can't use stratagem, so they're not gonna get things like the Quasar Cannon, they still have shit like the Scorcher, which is a fucking exploding plasma rifle. It's absolutely gonna wreck shop against the psychos and other low-tier soldiers of the Borderlands universe. Honestly, if you took the normal 4 Helldivers and dropped them down to Pandora, they would likely be just as much of a threat to the psychos as your average Vault Hunter would be. The only real weakness they'd have that would cause them to lose is the fact that they don't really have energy shields in the same way that the Borderlands universe does, but we already kind of established that they would come across those very quickly and integrate that technology into their own. The whole thing about them being a glass cannon, you would essentially remove the glass part and they would just become a well-armored fucking cannon. The problem here is when you start introducing the high-end level characters of the Borderlands universe, because that shit gets insane. I've already talked about characters like Lilith, who could straight up like scorch a continent, and you have monsters that are in the vaults that can literally destroy galaxies or planets. But honestly, even if you go way lower than that, like to a normal Vault Hunter, like let's just take Krieg for example. Krieg is arguably, probably not even arguably, the strongest psycho that has ever lived. He has a regenerating healing factor, he lights himself on fire, and he rushes at people and hits them with a big ass stick with a saw blade. His hits are so powerful, he can one-shot a loader bot. That's super impressive considering that a loader bot is durable enough to be shot from space down to the ground, and they're fine. They don't get destroyed or anything. A loader bot has about as much durability as a fucking hell pod does, and it doesn't get a scratch on it. And he just one-shots them. So if Krieg goes to fight against a Helldiver, depending on the weapon the Helldiver's using, he's gonna very easily hit that Helldiver so hard, he's gonna fucking splatter into nothing. It is going to be an easy one-shot, whether or not the Helldiver has an energy shield or not. That wouldn't matter at all. But like I said, it really depends on what weapon the Helldiver has. If the Helldiver has a Liberator, then yeah, Liberator's just like the basic automatic rifle that you start off with in the game. In that case, Krieg's fucking instantly obliterating him. But if you give the Helldivers something way bigger, preferably explosive, that just completely destroys the opponent, then the Helldiver should also be able to one-shot Krieg. Because while he does have regeneration, it's not like that strong. Like, he's not gonna regenerate his fucking torso back. And Krieg, while physically very strong, he's not the strongest Vault Hunter. There's a lot stronger Vault Hunters. And Krieg is actually a really bad matchup for the Helldivers because he's a close range Vault Hunter against Helldivers who are long range fighters. You could swap him out with another Vault Hunter like Zero, who is an invisible, insanely powerful sniper-like character, and he has the ability to easily one-shot a Helldiver from extremely far away, and there's nothing the Helldiver can even do about it. Basically, as long as Zero stays cloaked and out of range of Helldiver's scanners, he can just start picking them off like they're nothing, and there's really not a whole lot they can do about it. So it's really going to become this interesting game of rock, paper, scissors, where Vault Hunters have the capacity to slaughter countless Helldivers, and Helldivers have the capacity to slaughter particular Vault Hunters if they have the proper setup. But generally speaking, the Vault Hunters are more powerful than the Helldivers by a considerable enough margin that more often than not, they're gonna win. And then when it comes to Helldivers fighting actual Sirens, they really don't stand a chance at all. I mean, the Sirens are capable of moving moons and destroying continents. Like, their powers end up getting into the cosmic realm of shit. So it's not even, like, you would have to put a Siren up against a Super Earth freaking like spacecraft or warship or something. You couldn't put up against just a normal Helldiver. Now, Helldivers are capable of killing Sirens because Sirens aren't bulletproof. Durability wise, they're just like normal people for the most part, other than their energy shields. Guns can take them out, but their actual powers mean they can do way more damage than like a normal person. And that's not really including the Vault monsters. Now, the problem that the Vault Hunters and the other like stronger characters are going to have is simply that they're just wildly outnumbered. There are so many more Helldivers than there are Vault Hunters. We don't know how many Vault Hunters there are. I think canonically in the games there's like 18 or something. I don't remember the exact number, but it's not a lot. It's around 20-ish. That's how many that we know exist. We know there's way more. It's like an occupation that a lot of people go out to do, but we don't have an exact number. What we do know is that it is nowhere near the number of Helldivers. Helldivers are in the trillions and quadrillions. I mean, the Second Galactic War has only been going on for like 7 or 8 months, and we've already lost 2.3 billion Helldivers. Like, that's how many died. And Super Earth doesn't really seem to care. Like, that hasn't even put a small dent into their number. So how many they have is just, we don't know. It's just countless. It's as many as you want to imagine. And when it comes to that, the answer of who's gonna win is pretty obvious. The Helldivers are just gonna completely outnumber the Vault Hunters. And this is where the main issue is gonna lie. And that's kind of sort of the way this entire matchup goes, right? Borderlands has the ability, if you take individual characters or individual weapons, to completely fucking throttle Helldivers. But because of certain ways that the universe is set up, it makes it kind of impossible. Do they have characters that can wipe out Helldivers? Yes. Do they have enough of them? No. Do they have enough people in their universe to fight against the Helldivers' forces? Yes. Will they all come together to actually go and fight against the Helldivers? No. Like, if I drew a line through the universe and said Helldivers on this side and Borderlands on this side, rush at each other and see who wins, it's very possible that Borderlands would actually win that fight. The problem is that the Borderlands universe isn't set up that way. It's very chaotic. I don't even think that we've ever actually seen anyone in the Borderlands universe have like a really good strategic tactical mind for battle. Like, we haven't seen a well-oiled machine of a military go out to perform an operation successfully. Like, if you don't have that ability, then I don't see how you can overcome the Helldivers when you guys are this close in power and the Helldivers outnumber you by this amount. In order for Borderlands to win, they're gonna all have to come together, efficiently and effectively use their strongest people, bring all their technology together, put it on the front lines of war, work together to slaughter their way through the Helldivers, possibly even use many of the monsters in the vaults to support them if they can. But again, none of that's going to be able to happen because none of these people get along, none of them are organized, the vault monsters can't be controlled, and overall it's just way too unorganized to have a proper fight against Super Earth. So this is kind of a weird situation because we're at the showdown part of the video, but I kind of just told you what the showdown would be like. So, I guess it would just do it again. So to speed through the first part, Super Earth is going to show up. They're going to start taking over planets. People are going to ignore them for the most part until they start hitting planets that are owned by a corporation. The corporation's going to fight back, but no one's going to assist them. Eventually, they're going to take over a certain number of planets where everyone's going to see there's going to be an issue, and then all of those people are going to eventually take them more seriously and start fighting against Super Earth. However, they're not going to be able to put their own shit aside to do that, so they're going to kind of be warring with each other while also warring with Super Earth, and it's going to become a whole thing. Super Earth is going to be updating its technology the entire time and adapting its technology to be better so that it can fight against all the different factions. The ground forces of Super Earth that are sent down to the planet are going to be able to wipe out the vast majority of life on most planets and take them over relatively easily. I would say about 85 to 90% of the universe is going to be wiped out relatively easy using just the ground forces, with that last 10-15% being so ungodly powerful compared to anything Super Earth has that they're just not going to be able to overcome it, and they're going to start getting wiped out in very, very high numbers. This would include high-tier vault hunters, sirens, and also the monsters that are found in the vaults. Super Earth is going to fight against them for a little while, not very long, I mind you, because eventually if they realize it's going to take too many resources or it's just something they're not going to be able to do in a reasonable amount of time, they're going to do the same thing they did to Meridia, which is basically just open up a black hole in the center of the planet and just completely destroy it, killing anybody on the surface of the planet. That would include sirens or the giant monster from the vault or whatever. Because Super Earth is a bunch of fucking sore losers, and they would rather kick over the chess set than admit that they lost. Now, within that 15% that Super Earth can't deal with, I do think there will be certain characters that even opening up a black hole and destroying the whole planet won't really deal with. Like, for instance, that glowy bitch that was in Tales of the Borderlands Part 2, I'm forgetting her name. The one that's like a super god character. I don't necessarily think that there's anything Super Earth can do to actually deal with that character. It's very possible that even destroying the planet isn't going to kill her. She's basically God. Having said that, if you're talking about the characters that the Helldivers just straight up can't overcome, it's not even really 15%. It's going to be like 0.0000 whatever, 1%. And that one person just doesn't have the range of power in order to stop the Helldivers from actually taking over the whole universe. Even if she went to a planet and wiped out all the Helldivers in a single planet, she can't be all across the universe at the same time. There's really not even any evidence that she can wipe out all life on a single planet. Like, she just doesn't have the scope to fight against that many people. You also have the issue where I actually think that many people in the Borderlands universe are going to side with Super Earth. Because as we've seen with Tyreen and her army, it actually doesn't take a whole lot for people to get on board with your whole Machiavellian plans of taking shit over. If you show that you're successful in your authoritarianness and mass murdering nature, people will flock to you and want to fight for you because they want to be on the winning side. I think you may actually start to see factions of soldiers who are working for Super Earth who are legitimately like psychos, or people who left Hyperion and Atlas and all these other different groups and went to join Super Earth, which I don't think is really necessary, but it's definitely something. Also, two arguments that I know I'm going to hear, but let me just shut them down right the fuck now. I know people are going to say that you can use the Digistruct to come back to life, because in the game when you die, you are brought back through the Digistruct system, so basically nobody can die permanently. There's even a side quest where Handsome Jack pays you to kill yourself just so the Digistruct can bring you back, so people consider this as like a canon thing. It's not canon. That side quest isn't canon. I understand it's a side quest. It's clearly a joke. In the actual story of the game, no character is ever brought back that died. If that were the case, there would be no reason for anyone to cry over the deaths of Angel and Maya and Lilith and all of these other characters who have been killed. Roland, like, all these characters died in the story and they weren't brought back. I mean, the Digistruct system was built by Hyperion. The guy who is currently running Hyperion over Pandora, his daughter dies, and the last half of the story is about him mourning the death of his daughter and enraged trying to fucking kill you. If he had the technology to bring her back, he would have done it. Canonical-wise, they cannot bring people back from the dead with the Digistruct shit. It is just a game mechanic, and the side quest is just a funny joke. The other thing I know people are gonna say is, why don't they just release the fucking monster from the vault that eats the galaxy? Like, if they know they're gonna lose anyway, just do it. And I would say because it's not that easy to release a monster that's going to swallow everything you know in existence. Even if you were about to be taken over by Hitler and ruled over by an authoritarian dictator, would you really blow up the entire fucking planet? That's generally not the reaction. Also, if they did do that in this particular scenario, it wouldn't really work, because as I said, Super Earth is in another universe that they came through a portal into this universe. If they release the fucking monster that's gonna eat the whole universe, Super Earth can just go back to Super Earth in the other universe and close the portal behind them, and boom, problem solved. You just destroyed your whole fucking universe and you didn't even kill the people you wanted to kill. It just wouldn't be a particularly successful strategy and it wouldn't save you from what you're doing. You're just like suicide bombing your whole fucking universe. What a selfish piece of shit. But yeah, in summary, if Borderlands can get its shit together at any point, come together to actually like team up and utilize all of its strengths against Super Earth, they could probably overtake it. It's also possible that the series at some point will actually dive into the Iridians in a better manner than they already have. And then once the Iridian shit is revealed, that can also help them against the Helldivers. But as of right now, they haven't really gone into that stuff enough for us to even determine if there are any Iridians alive, what their powers are now, what they're doing, if they would be capable of fighting back. Like, we just don't have the information. But I do think it's possible for Borderlands to win, just not at this point in the story and not based on the current inner politics that's going on within the Borderlands universe. Maybe if I can get over my hatred for Borderlands 3, I'll go play Borderlands 4 and it will introduce something that would actually make this different, and I'll come back to this and make another video about it. But yeah, as of right now, I think Helldivers win with a lot of struggle and a lot of pain in the ass shit they have to deal with. But that's gonna be all from me. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, and join the membership. Remember, if you join the membership, you get videos early. And always remember, y'all stay safe out there, you hear?